Hey, we're live. It says we're live. I'm still thinking it's Wednesday, but it's actually Thursday. That Labor Day weekend thing, it always throws me off a little bit. But hey, we're here, and I'm glad we're here for a few good minutes. Now, before I bring in my guest and kind of talk to you about what we're going to be talking about, I got a couple of housekeeping items. I always say house cleaning, and if you actually saw my house, you'd wonder why I actually said house cleaning. Anyway, so we're going to Vegas next week. Me and the venerable Paul Greenberg. So we're going there for Cloud World. We're going to be doing some CRM players events. It actually looks like I have to give myself some credit because it does look like that's a promo for a new TV show or something. But we are going to be at Vegas at Cloud World doing some CRM players events, and those are a few of our guests lined up. That's Rob Pinkerton, Katrina Gosek, Hillel Cooperman, and Jenny Lamb. Just a few of our favorite folks over there. So we'll be checking them out. And also, I'll be doing some few good minute episodes from Sweet World. So Cloud World and Sweet World will be going on at the same time in Vegas. It's like some kind of interesting mashup they're doing over there, but that's okay. I'll be there, and hopefully, if you're there, maybe we could do I don't know, coffee. Although I don't really drink coffee, but just to meet up because it's always cool to meet folks. So, all right, now my housekeeping is completely over, so we can talk about this is going to be a fun show. All right, everybody's already talked about AI and generative AI, and I've talked to a number of people throughout the last year or so on this subject. But my guest is somebody that I had talked to like 6-7 years ago at his previous employer, and he's always been on the AI side of the house. And so this is my first time getting to talk to him now that everything has happened with Gen AI, and he is all over it. He's all into it. Matter of fact, the reason that I actually reached out to him is because he recently put up this post on LinkedIn talking about he's having such a great time lately with AI agents. I was like, and I said, "Oh my god, I haven't talked to Marco in so long. This is like a perfect opportunity to talk to him." So I reached out and immediately reached out, and I think I even put in the email, "Hey, just read this and would love to connect." And I have to kind of admit, I didn't even get to read it. I just saw this. I was like, I got to reach out to him. But I did. After he said he was going to be able to do this, I absolutely did read the blog post. And this is the before promo, before I read the blog post. Because if I had read the blog post, it would look a little different because I read the blog post. He embedded this video with him and John Maeda. Now I had no idea that they're going to be doing this show, this cooking with AI thing, and apparently John has been doing that for a while, and Marco was his special guest on it, and Marco was looking like a chef, and he was coming in on it looks like a refrigerator, which is kind of interesting to me. So I was like, well, let me see. I gotta watch this video now. So I watched. I was like, man, this guy is like really cooking. So if I had seen the video before I did that show promo, this would have been what it looked like here. Because this is what I mean. You can see he's got this serious face on. He's got the apron on. Now I have to admit, I put a little fake kitchen set there behind him, but it looks good. It fits right in. So this would have been the Marco's AI test kitchen promo instead of the kind of the more traditional. But either way, I was just glad to see it. Glad to see him. And let me bring on Marco Casalaina. And I know you're the VP of product for AI Azure, but I was watching a clip of you, and you're also the AI, what do they call it?
AI futurist.
Futurist. That's a really cool title, man. So first of all, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I know. I have a super Silicon Valley title now. I'm coming to you live from our San Francisco office right now, and yeah, it's been fun.
So I was watching another clip of you. I think it was at one of those Microsoft events, builds, I think maybe. And I'm going to play this little clip because I thought this was really interesting because a lot of times people, when they think about AI and Gen AI, they kind of think of the purple cows and doing sonnets and things, which is okay. I mean, I'm not going to knock that.
Big kitchen backgrounds.
Yeah. But I want to play this clip because I thought this is really cool, and it has a very general purpose that it's going to be used a lot in the future.
This is our new video translator. With this, I can translate videos into other languages in my own voice. Maintenant, je peux enfin parler français comme je l'ai toujours voulu. または日本語で何かをささやくこともできます。या मैं हिंदी में चिल्लाकर आपसे बात करूं? This AI is going to bring the world together.
All right. I thought it was impressive for a number of reasons. The voice definitely sounded like you. They also had the whispering and the excitement kind of baked into the language translation. This is really cool stuff. And I was glad to see. I mean, that was just a little portion of it, but I see that because sometimes people get kind of up here with a lot of the uses of Gen AI, but this is one that is so practical, but is going to make a big difference for people to be able to speak and collaborate and communicate even when they don't speak the same language.
Oh man, wait till you see what comes after that. I mean, and the funny thing is, I mean, for everybody talking about generative AI and all this stuff, that what you just showed, the new video translator, which is public now, you can try it yourself, is not generative. It's not actually using a generative model. It's actually underneath the scenes, it's using what we call task-specific models for speech and for translation, which are much more economical, faster, and they can do things like adapt the voice to the inflection, like the whispering, crying or laughing or all those kinds of things that you might do. And it can do multi-speaker too, by the way. So in that video, yeah, it's just me talking, but actually you can have a bunch of different speakers and it will do each one of them in their own voices. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was just I watched the whole thing. There's a lot. I could have clipped out a lot of different things, but that was really cool. But one of the things that caught my attention, like I said, I saw your post on LinkedIn, and then it led me to a post on one of those Microsoft networks and that video and all that. So over the last, I guess, couple of years, we've been talking about chatbots, and then we've gone kind of from chatbots to like co-pilots and assistants. And now you're talking about AI agents, and then you kind of did a demo in that video. It's not just AI agents; it's like AI multi-agents, and then you got something in there called multimodal. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I thought it was a great time to bring you on to kind of just get you maybe at a high level, talk about kind of how we've gone from like chatbots to these multiple agent AIs, and kind of where the progression, and also how do they all work together? What place do each of these have in the kind of the sphere of things right now?
Yeah, so back in the old days when we were talking before, I used to be the head of AI at Salesforce, and certainly one of our big products then was Einstein Bots. It was a chatbot product, and then that was pre-generative AI, right? So that was kind of like we had to like specifically figure out every possible thing that anybody would ever say to the chatbot, and you had to kind of program it to be able to handle that. Then these generative capabilities came out, and now, and of course with ChatGPT, everybody came to understand what that is and what that means. But the problem is that ChatGPT's conditioned everybody to think that AI is something that you type to it and it types to you, that you ask it a question and it gives you an answer. And it's true. I mean, it's great for that, but where it's going is somewhere else altogether. And in that video that I did with John Maeda, what I went into is I made myself an agent using Azure OpenAI Assistants. I made an agent that can make bookings in my Outlook calendar. It actually takes action. So this is the inflection point where we move beyond just it answers your questions, or it makes some content, marketing content for you, or as you say, write a sonnet. And it goes into something that is much, much more useful, where it can use the power of its reasoning capabilities to take action on your behalf in external systems, in Outlook or in Excel, in Salesforce or in Dynamics, in SAP or ServiceNow, in all of these different things. It's going to start to be able to do this on your behalf. And that's where it really starts to, that's where people start to see real value from AI, I think, beyond just question answering as we have it today.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned during that video with John, one of the main differences between kind of the agents and kind of the early chatbots and even copilots is these things, like you said, they actually are able to not just answer questions, but actually do stuff for you. And so I know you demoed it. Are we already seeing, are some of your customers already doing these kinds of things?
Oh, you're about to see it. You're about to see it. I tell you. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be in Vegas next week too. So I am myself and my boss Eric Boyd. We're going to do the keynote of the Dev Intersection conference in Vegas. So maybe I'll run into you somewhere over there.
That'd be awesome
next week. But anyway, yeah, it's happening, man. I tell you, like I got to tell you, one of the companies that I think is sort of adjacent, because you focus a lot on CRM and those kinds of use cases, and I've been working lately with this company called Parloa. They're German. It's a startup, Series B, and they are doing some fascinating stuff. And I tell you, watch that space, because the contact center is one of these places where AI is about to make a huge splash. I mean, it started with like agent assistance stuff and those kinds of things, and that we've been doing for a few years now. But using AI agents to help contact center agents is really the next frontier for the contact center. I think at the moment it's maybe a little bit of a bridge too far to say, oh, we're going to just automate out the contact center agent altogether. It doesn't really work that way, not yet, and probably not for a while. But to make these AI agents that can really, I mean, again, integrations are all about the contact center, right? Or the contact center is all about integrations, really. And, being able to help the contact center agent do their job faster and easier and more correctly. Well, wait till next week and see what Parloa is going to announce. You'll see what I mean.
That's great, because I talk and interact with a couple of different contact, what do they call them, CCAS, like contact center as a service, or some of them called UCCAS, or but it's all around all the interactions. Like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 80% of interactions between a customer and their vendor, they kind of start with self-service, and then if they can't solve it via self-service, then they start to move up the chain in terms of the assistance they get. And every click or every swipe or any is a piece of data that can help somebody either self-serve, or if it's something that's too complex, that data and those interactions that were initially done at the edge, they get to feed the actual agent, so the agent can be a little bit more proactive and have a better handle, and also have an assistant that's actually helping them help folks get things done. So yeah, absolutely.
That's where this is going, man. I tell you. And what I like about Parloa is it's not a UCAS of itself, right? So it rides on top of Genesis or InContact or whatever, contact center. It kind of hijacks the agent leg. It already does like auto translation. So let's say that you call me, I'm the contact center agent, and you only speak Turkish and I only speak English, right? And with Parloa hijacking the agent leg, basically what the voice you hear is not mine. It's actually, but it'll be a Turkish voice. So I speak, and it will do a real-time translation, kind of like what you saw, and you'll hear Turkish or whatever language you speak. I don't know why I picked Turkish there. I don't know. Kind of random, but that's my point, right? The idea that you can extend these contact center agents to work with anybody, anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, that's part of it. But then going further than that and actually providing that agent, the AI agent. This is one of the places where the word agent is super overloaded.
Right.
It's a little tough
because there was the agent, the actual physical agent, and now you've got the AI agent.
Right. No, but you said it. You said it. Like if I have a problem, like United Airlines, like if I have a problem that I'm calling the United Airlines like call center, I have tried to do this on the mobile app or on the website or whatever. Like, I'm not just going to go straight to the phone. I'm going to try to resolve it myself. And if it's that complicated, it's going to require somebody on the other end of the line. But you also said it, right? That person on the other end of the line could use some assistance in making that thing happen, whatever it is.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about you were, I think you actually did two examples in that video. One was the kind of the singular AI agent, which you used to help book on your Outlook calendar.
Yeah.
But you also did one, it was a AI multi-agent. Can you talk about, why there is a need for like a multi-agent, and give some examples of how that works.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So a multi-agent is a system a framework where you have multiple different agents that interact with each other, and each agent has different jobs and potentially different tools or different powers, you might call them. And sometimes that's warranted. Now, in the case of the multi-agent that I showed on John Maeder's show, well, that is my questionnaire multi-agent. I have a few of them actually, and I'll make some videos of my next one soon. Now, I actually wrote it for a really good reason, and it wasn't to do a demo. Part of my job is that I have to fill out all the questionnaires. When analysts send these questionnaires or I get RFPs from customers, part of my job is they come to me, basically. And traditionally, I have distributed them to my team, and I'd be like, hey, you do this part, right? And that's a pain in the butt, because then I got to be the project manager too, and I have to make sure everybody fills their sections. And so when this stuff came out, one day I was like, I mean, I could write an agent for this. So I did originally write a single agent for this, right? So, and it would answer the questions, but it wasn't quite right, because it would often make mistakes. And there were different kinds of mistakes. Like there were mistakes where it would literally hallucinate something. And then there were mistakes where it wasn't exactly a mistake, but it was answering something in a way that you should not answer in a questionnaire. Like I think in the example I gave there, like, does Azure AI offer a video generative AI model? Right. At the moment, we don't have that, right? And sometimes my original agent would be like, I could not find any information on that. But you can't answer that in a questionnaire. You can't be like, do you offer a video generator? I could not find information on that. Like, that sounds super robotic. And sometimes it would even make up links. Like it would make up links, because usually in these questionnaires, you have to provide public documentation. And so sometimes it would just make a link that looked like a link that was real, and it was not at all real. It was totally fake, right? So I had to check it. I would make these things, and I had to like really scrutinize it to make sure that it was saying the right thing before I really submitted the questionnaire. It did save me a bunch of time, and it saved my team a bunch of time, but it wasn't great. So then Semantic Kernel introduced multi-agents. I mean, there are a few different frameworks that exist for it now. Semantic Kernel, AutoGen, Crew, there's a bunch of them now, Agency Squad. And I have lately become partial to Semantic Kernel. I've used them all basically, but I kind of like Semantic Kernel. I like .NET a little bit better than Python. Sorry. But it's heresy in the AI world to say that. But honestly, Python, I have strong words for that weakly typed language.
Wow.
Anyway, so I wrote this multi-agent system. And so in this multi-agent system, I have a question answering agent. So that's basically my original agent that would generate the answer to the question. But then I have an answer checker agent. And the answer checker agent also has the ability to go search the web and verify that the question answerer answered it correctly. Wow. Then I have a link checker agent, which checks just the links and makes sure that those are correct. And then I have a manager agent, which looks at what the answer checker said and what the link checker said. And if either of them reject, then the manager rejects and causes a rewrite cycle. So basically goes back again and is like, okay, try again, rewrite the question, knowing what you know now, because all that context is preserved, rewrite. And so it rewrites it, answer checker checks it again, link checker checks it again, and on and on and on until it reaches a conclusion, or until it reaches my preset stop point. Sometimes they just argue and never come to a solution. So you have to be cognizant that could happen and kind of cut it off. But anyway, I still have to check it. There still has to be a human in the loop. You can't just be like, hey, here you go, analyst. I'm going to give you this whole questionnaire filled out like that. I still go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. But this removes a lot of those kinds of artifacts that I saw with my original solution. And it does work, and I do use it quite regularly. Wow. Not just for demos.
So, I believe that was a demo of multi-agent, but modal. But you also talked about multimodal.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of a progression on. So what is that, and what's kind of an example or use case of that?
Okay, well, let's talk about the three multis that we have here. We have actually there's four multis: a multilingual, multi-agent, multi-model, and multimodal. So you saw multilingual a second ago. That one is pretty well established. Multi-agent is kind of, as I described, the debating agent pattern of you have different agents with different jobs working together with each other. Multimodal means, so modality here, we mean the type of input or output. So that means, well, you type to it, it types to you. What if I wanted to give it a picture? So like one of the things that I've been working with a bunch of insurance companies on is, let's say that you had a car accident and you took some pictures of the car accident, cracked up car. Now let's say that you go to the insurance company and you say, no, I didn't hit a tree. Actually, this damage is due to hail. And you have clearly, like, the front is caved in and stuff like that. Like,
I
that
remember
would have
that
been
picture.
one giant hailstorm, you know?
Remember that picture in your demo?
Right? Yeah, I do that sometimes in my demo, right? And this is a real thing that we're working on with a number of actual insurance companies. That's why I use it, is because it is a real scenario. So you can give the picture to the model. The model, it doesn't just handle text now. It can see. It can make images. You made one yourself, but it can also see images and interpret those images. It can speak, and you can speak to it. And that's another thing that it can do. And soon you'll see too that it'll be able to control robots. So it'll start to be able to interact with the physical world, and that's another modality altogether. So when we say multimodal, what we mean is it can interact in different mechanisms than just text. And when I say multi-model, by the way, what I mean is going back to the multi-agent thing. So, let's say I have my question answer thing and my answer checker. They don't have to use the same model. I could use GPT-4o for the question answer and Llama 3.1 for the answer checker. It's sort of giving me differing points of view on it, so that you don't get the sameness to it. And so multi-agents and multiple models are friends.
Wow. All right. There's a lot going on. We don't have a lot of time, but that was great. One of the other things that you talked about, I guess, it hasn't been, it feels like it hasn't really been all that long, when there's only a handful of LLMs. But I think it was in one of your presentations, you had a chart that has like 1,600 plus language models out there. And some of them, because there's, are meant to be small. You actually demoed processing on your own browser on your laptop.
Yep.
Are we talk a little about now because a lot of people are worried about data centers and power usage and all that. But now we're seeing the ability to have language models so small that you could process them on the edge.
Well, this is happening. So there is now a range of model sizes. And so originally we call them large language models. Well, first of all, because they only did text, and second of all, because they were very large, right? And they could only run in these giant supercomputers, of which Azure is one of the biggest in the world. But now there is this range of models. There are what I would call mini models. Mini models are 5 billion parameters and smaller. And parameters is a measure of the size of the model. It's kind of like, you could look at a parameter sort of like a neuron or a synapse in your brain, right? Well, you have many, many billions or trillions in your brain. But in any case, with less than 5 billion parameters, that means that it can run on this laptop or on my phone, for example. That's something that's small enough that you can run it on that, or you can run it in the cloud, and it will tend to run super fast because it doesn't require that much computation. There are medium models also that are like in the 10 to 100 billion parameter range. And then the larger models are like 100 billion and plus. And those are the GPTs and things like that you use. So these small models, they open up a kind of a new frontier in terms of what you can do with artificial intelligence. And part of that is, yes, you can run them on the edge. Now, as small models, they don't know as much. So they are not necessarily as capable as the big, large models, but they're getting better and better, so that if you can ground them to data, so they don't know much, but if you can ground them to data pretty well, then they will tend to perform pretty well for some types of things, especially stuff like question answering. And so you can start to move that stuff to your local machine or in your car, for example, or on your phone. Or one customer I was working with has remote sites out in the middle of nowhere, right? They have electric towers that they would like to be able to have, AI interfaces on there. Another customer I'm working with has spacecraft that are interplanetary. You can imagine who that is. There's really only one that you can think of that would be like that. And yeah, I mean, I have, I'll just say openly, man, I have seen some crazy stuff. I have visited some crazy customers just lately. I tell you, I mean, it's just insane what we can do. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah, these small models open up that possibility. They're not for everything. They're not nearly as capable as like GPT-4o, which is at the moment arguably the world's most capable model, but they can get some stuff done and they can run on the edge.
Marco, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking time to do this. But you are an AI futurist, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to peer out. I'll just say a year, because I don't know what's going to happen after that. I don't even know what's going to happen in a year. That's why I'm asking you. So, what are we going to be talking about? What's going to be mainstream when it comes to AI a year from now that people don't even really know about now, but a year from now they're going to be like, oh yeah, I know all about this. I've been using this forever.
Right. Well, right now, as I said before, AI agents that take action, that is a new concept to a lot of people. A year from now, that's going to be more or less commonplace. As commonplace as RAG and grounding is today, it will be a year from now. Also, as I said before, multimodality is a thing, but right now it's kind of discrete. Like you either type to it or you talk to it or you give it a picture or whatever. But in the coming year or so, it's going to start to become what I call streaming or intermodal. That is to say, you will simultaneously kind of text to it and talk to it, and it'll see you and it can see your screen. It'll be like you're having a Teams meeting with your model, and you'll be able to kind of just interactively talk to it. And it'll be more and more interactive, more and more real time, because that latency is getting less and less also. So that is definitely where we're going here, is this kind of more seamless interactivity. That's what's happening in the near future.
Awesome. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I would love to do, maybe a couple months down the line, kind of come back and see where things are and how things have progressed, because I mean, you make it easy for anybody to really understand what's going on. I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll run into you in Vegas next week. You'll be at Oracle World. I'll be at Dev Intersection, and hopefully we will indeed intersect.
Awesome, man. Because the last time we actually were in the same room, if I'm not mistaken, it was CRM Evolution in like either New York or DC, and it was like 7 or 8 years ago, something like that.
It's been a little while. Oh, it'll be good to see you.
Awesome, man. Thanks again, and thanks everybody out there. And I will see you in about 30 minutes for a CRM Players. So until then, we'll see you.
Thank you.